and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, with the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan, today we are here discussing the implications not just for India, but also for Southeast Asia. Is a win for Taliban necessarily a win for Pakistan? Also, what is going to happen with the nexus with China, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan? Where does everybody stand? And are we right in fearing that Kashmir will be the first point of contention once, of course, the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan is complete? So joining me to discuss all these points, I have with me Ambassador Gautam Mukhopadhyay. He's the former ambassador to Afghanistan. In fact, he was there in Afghanistan from 2010 to 2013, but he was also, he reopened the embassy in Kabul as the charge d'affaires in 2001, the last time, I think, post-Taliban. We have, of course, Nayanimka Basu. She's a senior associate editor with The Print, and more importantly, she's just returned from Taliban, Afghanistan. She was there for 10 days before it fell, before the Taliban took over, and during the occupation also. So she's got a very interesting story to tell. And of course, Commodore Uday Bhaskar, Director, Society of Policy Studies, and a geostrategic expert, and a familiar face on Roundtable. So welcome back, Uday. But Nyamika, I'm going to begin with you. First of all, well done. I mean, what you did is amazing. Can you just, you were there before the fall. You went, I think, on 8th of August, and you were there for about 12 days. Can you just take us through what happened and, the mood on the ground, literally?
So thank you firstly for having me on this show, Priya. It really means a lot. As you said, I went there, I arrived there on 8th of August, and it was, I went by calm air, and I reached there in late afternoon, you can say, and the mood in Kabul was quite, it was normal, it was peppy. Yes, they were tensed with the fact that at that time, almost 2/3 of Afghanistan was almost under control of the Taliban. They were scared that, they'll be closing in around Kabul very fast. But then at that point of time, the fear was not as if it'll happen the next Sunday. So people were sort of discussing it, but then, it was a normal life. The mood was great, and I had my airport transfer. The chauffeur who was driving me around, from the airport to the hotel, of course, he said that yes, we are scared. I'm scared about my life, my family's life. My wife is also working. I think she's a teacher. But then there was this thing that, some kind of hope was there, probably that the forces are fighting, the Afghan forces are fighting, the Ghani government will save them. And end of the day, there could be some kind of a peace deal, a transition maybe. So they had hopes at that point of time also. But yes, eventually, I went to Mazar-e-Sharif also because I had a lot of work lined up with my interview also with Ata Muhammad Noor. They were also hopeful that, come what may, they will never be coming in Mazar, so forget about Kabul. But eventually, I saw within the next Sunday how things completely collapsed. There was this fear, mayhem, chaos, absolutely on the road. That day, I was out to interview Mr. Gulbuddin Hikmatyar. I was at his office. When I was, the moment the interview got over, they said, you need to quickly leave because we are in a way also could be a target, so you must leave. And the hotel was quite far away from there. About 6-7 kilometers, I got completely, there was traffic gridlock. My hotel, which I stayed in Serena, they locked down. So it was quite a bit of challenge. But then, as I said, that, when you're in that kind of atmosphere, and when I was readying myself to go to Afghanistan, I knew things would be happening. So just had to have that kind of, probably some kind of calmness, confidence that I need to get myself out. Whatever happens.
And your first attempt at getting out did not, you were there at the mess at Kabul airport. In fact, your first flight got cancelled or you couldn't catch it. What happened that time?
So, yes, I think that was the most scary part in all those 10 days that I was there. I was constantly in touch with the Indian mission there, of course, with my office and with my family. I was telling the Indian mission about every move that I was making, including my visit to Mazar-e-Sharif. And fortunately, or you can say it was just by some kind of grace that when I landed there, that's the day our consulate also shut down. But then, yes, Sunday night is when Taliban entered Kabul city in a major way. And I could see right outside the window of my hotel that, these boys and men in pickup trucks, in Toyota Hiluxes with their rocket launchers, machine guns, completely marching on the road. So at that point of time, we were also told that maybe the hotel will be searched. So everybody was kind of alert. So then my office said that, no more, and you need to really come back. So they got me booked on the next Air India flight that was leaving that last Monday. But, and I told that to the mission as well. They said, well, that's good that you're leaving. So leave for the airport as soon as you can, because in general in Afghanistan, I've seen airports are really, they're always crowded, and that day was expected to be more crowds to be there. So we reached there, and there was complete mayhem. I reached the airport about 4:15 in the morning. Even while I was checking out from the hotel, there were this full of Taliban fighters there in the lobby, sitting about hundreds of them came in. I just had to silently check out and make myself to the airport. In airport, I saw outside the main terminal buildings, the domestic and the international, they were there with about 10, 15 armored vehicles shooting in air from their machine guns, and indiscriminately in the name of controlling the crowd that was there. There were families, thousands and thousands of them, with children, women who just wanted to catch a flight. They didn't have a ticket, a visa or anything of that sort, because I was there sitting, taking some kind of shelter. It was open space, and these bullets were there everywhere. So I was huddling myself with some other families, and I was talking to them. They were like, we just need to get out of it. And they were telling me, don't get scared of these bullets. We are grown up with this, but then, this is not the life we would like to give to our children. So I was there locked in the airport for about 4-5 hours, rather I would say 5-6 hours. And the mission, I was constantly in touch with the mission. They said that, listen, we are helpless. You need to find a way out to come to the embassy, because we can't also go out. We are also under threat. We can't send you a car. So you have to somehow make it here. So when I reached, thankfully, and there was this mobs and mobs of people, they were coming in, the gate crashed. By 11:15, there was this complete mayhem, and that time the Taliban was indiscriminately shooting at the crowd, directly at them. People, a person beside me, he got shot at his leg. I saw them shooting somebody else also while they were fighting, going on, quarreling, and all those kind of things that you can probably think of. So finally, I got a cab. I had a local somebody who helped me. And then in the embassy is in a green zone, and that's like a fortified area. But you have the main gate, which is completely sealed. And there were this 7-8 boys out there. One of them were being called, he was called as the boss. And I was there about 45 minutes with another journalist. And so we were just standing there hoping that the embassy can probably send the car. They said, we are trying. But then again, that threat was sort of increasing. And even there were like so many Afghan people were there on the gates. They were clinging on to us. They wanted to come to India with our help. So, at that point of time, I'm being asked about this question over Twitter and everywhere else that, oh, you have this fantastic negotiating skills. But then, when you are in front of that kind of danger, you do not know what to do. So you just need to speak out, talk to them. I told them that, listen, you don't have a threat with me. I'm just a journalist. You can verify, call my office in Delhi and check out. I just need to go to my embassy. And that's about it. I'm not asking for anything else from you. I have, you can see the kind of stories I've done. I've come here just 10 days back, and you need to let me go. I think, I don't know what happened with them, but then they said that, okay, you need to walk down. Nobody, don't expect a car or anything. We will not allow anything. So just walk down till the embassy. And that's what I did. And that's how I ended up in the embassy and finally onto the evacuation flight.
Amazing. Really commendable and amazing what you did. Is not just negotiating skills, but I think you showed exemplary guts also going there while most people are just, sitting in the TV studios. But Ambassador Mukhopadhyay, what is your first, biggest fear with this takeover of Taliban? I won't even say 2.0, it's really 1.0 yet again, back again. It's just more of the same.
The biggest fear, I think right now the biggest fear is uncertainty and the desperation of people to get out. I think the desperation itself speaks a lot about what they feel and think about the Taliban. Taliban may be at this point of time portraying an image of amnesty and even a general sort of messages of that there will not be witch hunts and so on. But everything has begun. The witch hunts have begun. The Taliban are coming door to door with lists and are registering their presence, threatening, in some cases beating up people. We have very little actually coverage outside what are curated images of the Taliban. So actually, we don't know a lot of what is happening. Ground reports are not very reassuring. At one level, they say, after all, having created an atmosphere of terror for 6 months, suddenly they come there and they say, oh, there's nothing to fear. There will be no more terrorist bombs. So at one level, people are reassured. But at another level, they are seeing exactly what life means. Life is not going to, it's going to be a repressive life. And the average Afghan, does not see this Taliban just as another bunch of Afghans. They have an Afghan face, but they really know that there is a Pakistani hand behind that. That doesn't mean that they are only Pakistani proxies. There are elements of them who are chafing against Pakistan. There are many of them who might even openly curse them. There are some who would perhaps over a period of time, split away. But basic point is that they are under their control, and they are not, whatever their sentiments may be, their actions are very much under their control, at least for the time being. There could be blowback on Pakistan. Pakistan will use that as yet another example of its victimization. In fact, they've already started. They're beginning to say that they are the biggest victims of of the Taliban, capture. I think the other great thing is that the world is apparently ready. If they can just get a fig leaf of an appearance that this is somehow an accepted, if not a negotiated, political settlement. That means if they can get a few political leaders on board, no matter that they will not actually have power, they will be just decorative posts. That the rest of the world is so fed up of Afghanistan, they were so fed up of President Ghani as well, that they might just accept it. And the third, Taliban have been a Pakistani project, a 27-year-old Pakistani project starting from 1994 that mutated after 2001, but and became a much smarter, in some sense, Taliban, but a Taliban that was smarter because its masterminds were someone else. And the real risk that, the fact is that successive administrations, from Bush to Obama to Trump, have identified and recognized that Pakistan was the real source of the problem. But none of them have been. And once again, Pakistan
Lost
now
you
no longer
in
is
your
the
last
world
sentence.
dependent.
Can you repeat your last sentence? They all recognize that Pakistan is the biggest threat, but none?
But none is able to follow up the logic of that, take it to its conclusion. President Obama thought of AFPAC, but again, he was not able to, he got confused in that process. So the big fear really is that once again, Pakistan will get a pass. And this time, Pakistan will come with the backing of China. So if it was difficult in the past, or if it was confusing in the past to act on Pakistan, it will become that much more difficult now with their all-weather friend China somehow protecting and supporting them. So there will possibly be a resigned peace for some time because people are fed up of war. They are in a state of shock. They don't know what they can do. There are a few visible alternatives. We have already seen protests by women, flag protests, very important. A flag protest means the Afghan national flag against the Taliban flag. Most interestingly, this has happened most of all in Pashtun provinces, in Kunar, in Jalalabad, even Khost, which is actually quite close to Pakistan. In Panjshir Valley, you have Ahmed Masood and Amrullah Saleh rallying. A lot of the leaders who are not in Afghanistan have left. They are not going to be sitting idle. They're also going to be. So I think we need to watch and wait. Things will happen. There may be a resigned peace for some time, but there will be a resistance at some point or the other. The Taliban may be trying to present a good image now, but its true colors will come out. They will not be able to control what they really are, their spots for the last 27 years. And this is unfortunately another extremely sad chapter in Afghanistan, because effectively the Taliban have been set upon Afghanistan, and the Afghans and all their friends and partners are collateral damage.
Like your first thoughts, on the impact of the Taliban takeover. What is your biggest fear, really? Also, that's my same question to you.
Is that
To me?
Commodore Bhaskar, to you, Uday, yes.
okay? Priya, before I respond to your question, may I take this opportunity also to commend Miss Basu. I just heard her telling us about her experience in a very calm and professional manner. And Ms. Basu, full marks to you and all the intrepid journalists who have been covering Afghanistan from all over the world. And I do want to, if I could use a naval term, we say Bravo Zulu, which is to convey appreciation and praise, particularly to the women journalists, because this could not have been easy. And Priya, you know this. And full marks, madam, to you.
Thank you.
But in terms of, what is the fear, what is the anxiety, I just want to add to what both my co-panelists have already said. I think my immediate concern, if I could put it that way, is the unfolding human tragedy. We had a sense of that from what Ms. Basu was sharing with us about the chaos and what she saw at the airport, and the fact that you had a situation where bullets were being fired and people were being injured. And I dare say that this will continue for some more time because of the sheer numbers, the number of Afghans who are trying to flee their own country. And I think some very heartrending images that we have seen the whole week, including the one where mothers were handing over their babies to soldiers. I think it was the US military on the other side of the gate. Now, I think that just gives us an idea about the nature of the trauma, the tragedy. And I keep repeating this, that this is just the beginning. Because I think the domestic situation in Afghanistan is something that, again, I want to add to what Gautam, Ambassador Mukhopadhyay has just said, that we are getting, I think, only a part of the story, the one that the Taliban is allowing the international community to become aware of, those curated pictures, as he said. There's a lot happening in the provinces, which I think we do not know as yet. One has only seen little bits of, I would say, stories being retold, being nudged on Twitter, on social media, and all of them, I'm afraid, are rather bleak. So my first concern really is, I think, about the human dimension. And there are a number of people who are waiting to be evacuated, foreign nationals. That has also not been completed. So I think once we get a sense of that, the Taliban, who are currently in power, this is not a transition. This is a seizure of power by force, by intimidation. I don't think they have been able to put in place the basics of day-to-day management, whether it's of Kabul, a city with a large demography, or other parts of Afghanistan. And I think we are talking about basic services like electricity, sanitation, water, health, and so on. And if food supplies and the way in which the entire Afghan supply chain works is not restored, we might see, as I said, more grief as far as the people of Afghanistan are concerned. Now, this is the human dimension. And I think on the other, I would say, tracks, which is the so-called political interests of the major stakeholders, the United States, of course, has the urgency to evacuate, and it's going to leave behind a very large inventory of military supplies.
Yes.
What happens to that, to me as a security analyst, is a very big question mark, because this is not the best of situations for internal stability. If you have a country that is awash with light weapons, personal weapons, and heavy ordnance, and you have warlords, and I think this is a very important point made by Gautam, that those who had a stake in Afghanistan for the last 30, 40 years, going back to the Soviet invasion of 1979 and what followed, are all going to try and position themselves in such a manner that they also become relevant. If you have weapons, you have political ambitions, and we know the history of Afghanistan, all of this, again, I think augurs for a low index of stability, which is so important. And we are not even talking about what the big players will do. That is, whether it's a China or a Pakistan or an Iran or the other external players from Qatar to Turkey who have differently, Saudi Arabia, been relevant in the Afghan calculus. So I think all of them. We also have the Russians, you have the Central Asian states. So in a way, I would say that there is this great uncertainty. And in this uncertainty, I think right on top of the list is perhaps even the Taliban does not quite know what is going to unfold when they talk about creating a representative government, when the Taliban itself internally has a number of factions and some who are pulling in different directions. And for us in India, I think the Haqqani involvement or the Haqqani group being part of the 6 major strands of the Taliban is something that is cause for concern. So all in all, I would say it's complex, it's muddy, and there is very little clarity about what will happen in a week from now.
We are actually really out of time. So I'm going to give one quick last word to everybody, really. Ambassador Mukhopadhyay, one quick, I know a lot to be said, but what next? What should we do? Should we talk to the Taliban?
No, listen, now they are actually in power. The question is that, even for sort of basic things like getting to the airport, you need to have, some kind of communication. You need to have some kind of working relationship to attend to not immediate safety issues. Beyond that, we should understand that, the Pakistani game plan in all this is to try and sever Afghan relations with India, both traditional and contemporary. So we need to understand that, in fact, we need to combat that kind of design in the first place, which means we need a small window in which we will at least continue our people-to-people relations with Afghan people, all Afghan people, and maybe keep the political relations to a minimal. Because until we have clarity about the issue of inclusion, about their behavior, about to what extent they are willing to accommodate the sentiments and aspirations of Afghan people, I don't think we should legitimize them. Of course, they will leverage that to try and get legitimacy. We will have to negotiate that bargaining space. But I don't think we should be at all in a hurry to give them legitimacy or recognition. Beyond that, there's a lot that we can do. If we can keep that people-to-people relationship going, we can keep that people-to-people relationship going in India. Education, medical treatment, relocation of media houses, relocation of think tanks and scholars, even the external services division or our media outlets, our television outlets can give a voice. I think the main point is that we should be able to preserve the alternative of an repressive Islamic emirate and the idea of a much more freedom, a free Afghanistan alive, at least as long as we can. So we need to negotiate that space. We should not give up on the people that we
I'm going to cut you and get Commodore Uday in because we are totally out of time. Your quick take on what we can do.
I think, Priya, my quick take is that at this point, India should perhaps remain engaged with the Taliban for functional activities, whether it is airport, evacuation of citizens, any humanitarian requirement, because every country is now, quote unquote, talking to the Taliban for functional reasons. But I think in the long term, I think a strategic pause to take stock of the situation, and it is currently very dynamic, very complex and contradictory. And maybe a week, a month from now, India would be in a position. But I also want to very strongly endorse Ambassador Mukhopadhyay's point about remaining invested in the people of Afghanistan. They should see India as a beacon of some hope. We may not be able to do everything, but we should be there saying that we support their aspirations and we empathize with their anxieties. Priya?
Nyamika, your last thoughts as to what are you most concerned about? Your biggest fears of those people you left behind.
Well, I think of course, I agree with Ambassador Mukhopadhyay and Commodore Bhaskar that we need to really, have the talks with Taliban, at least to the extent that we can provide some kind of support to people there. I've seen the way they respect India. It is, I've seen that firsthand whenever I was there out in a locality where people didn't even understand Hindi. They could only understand the word Indi or India. And the moment I said that, it changed even when I was there at a refugee camp in Khairkhana. So I've seen the power that India has there. We may not be realizing it, probably sitting here. And as Ambassador said, that the way we have invested there, not just in terms of development, but also the kind of hope that they have on us, I think that should not go away. Yes, we had to shut down our consulates and embassy. I had met a girl in Mazar-e-Sharif airport who said that, why did you shut down the consulate in Mazar-e-Sharif? You had no threat. But okay, she may be an ordinary woman, but then she had hopes that I have this country which is there always with me as a friend. So there is this little thing. There are women, children who are in absolutely tragic state. Nobody knows what will happen to them. We are seeing these developments near the Kabul airport. I think that is something the Taliban can definitely avoid. And if they really want that kind of so-called political legitimacy, they need to first do away with this fear factor and the fear psychosis that they, take so much pride on. That really has to go. And after that, some kind of talks or whatever can happen. Having said that, yes, I saw how difficult was it for our evacuation also, because we were not directly communicating with them. So I think that is required as the first step. And going forward, of course, our foreign policy apparatus is quite efficient enough to understand what kind of strategic moves they will take.
Okay. On that note, I know rather somber note, in fact, the unfortunate part is I think we're going to be having a lot more of these discussions because the situation is just getting, if I pardon my English, grimmer and grimmer, really. But on that note, thank you all for this conversation, and thank you all for watching this show.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.